Greetings and thanks for tuning in to Melanated Minds. I'm Chris Enlightened and I'm joined today by my co-host, Dr. J. Today we'll be discussing how will you adapt now that our old way of living has changed. This is the first of many Melanated Minds episodes, and since we're currently quarantined, this show will be a great segue into our other shows pertaining to developing your consciousness and social awareness. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself. Again, I'm Chris Enlightened. I'm a 4-time Amazon best-selling author of the books Poverty Consciousness, Wealth Consciousness, Dissolving Your Limitations, and The Enlightened Thought. I'm a certified numerologist. I assist with deity entanglement. I'm a solar adept. I'm a YouTube blogger and creator of The Enlightened Journey. I'm a motivational speaker, and I'm an instructor of Wing Chun Kung Fu and Silat. Dr. J, please tell our audience who you are.
Well, greetings, audience. I'm Dr. J. Harrell Sims. I'm a professor of communication studies, African American family studies, cultural psychology, I'm a holistic life coach, activist, researcher, and I guess a new YouTube blogger. Also, I've been the co-host of Beautiful Struggle on 90.7 KPFK Los Angeles, next to the host, Professor Penny Wilson. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to be on the phone with Dr. J. So, I've noticed that there's been this big hue of uncertainty and just fear going on in the minds and the consciousness of people now that we're on this COVID-19 quarantine. So what's your take on how we as a people should adapt now that our old way of living has changed?
Well, the thing is that people don't do well with change. Think about it. People are used to having their mundane, structured lives that are really not structured at all, which is why everyone is having a hard time adapting. Listen, life that you knew is no more. You can't go back to normal. People want to go back to normal, and what you really need to do is define normal. You're going to have to move differently in this season. And in 2018, I talked about this season coming. 2019, I talked about this season coming. If you read the holy books, if you want to go spiritually, the Bible, the New Testament talks about this. I'm sure the Quran talks about this. Whatever your spiritual belief or spiritual system is, one thing that all religions and spirituality agree on is change is inevitable, and karma is real, no matter what you believe. And so at this point, being quarantined, to me, is a perfect time to sit back and do some self-evaluation so that you even know how to move from here on.
Oh, well said. I like that. I embrace change and I embrace challenges because I realize that challenges like these help you evolve. No one has a need to evolve when you're comfortable. I'm choosing to circumvent the fear programming that's being spewed across our country, and I'm embracing prosperity consciousness while everyone else is ingesting that fear. I don't really see the need to follow the news or even listen to what they're saying is truth right now. Of course, I'm being healthy. I'm abiding by the quarantine rules. I do go out to go to the grocery store and things like that. But for the most part, I'm using this time to develop myself, to really do a spiritual self-assessment of who I am. And all the time I didn't have time that I didn't think I had time to do the things I needed to do, I'm doing them now. I have outlines on all the goals. I'm writing down my goals daily and things like that. So unlike most people, I'm embracing prosperity consciousness right now myself.
Poverty is a mindset. It's a mindset. And when you have a poverty mindset, then your priorities are in the wrong place. You put money before health. You put, material things before, your spirit. So poverty mindset is let me get while I can because I'm afraid that I'm not going to have anything. And in my opinion, yes, money is great. We need it. We need it to survive. But the new currency is health. It's huge.
I like that.
Mental health, spiritual health, and physical health. That's the new currency. Because right now, what do we have? Think about it.
Right now, everybody's focused on their health, and a lot of people are embracing their newfound spirituality. It's always been there, but it's been hidden deep within the abyss of our consciousness. But I feel as if there's a shift going on right now where more and more people are starting to meditate, starting to get their ancestors' altars up, starting to do sun gazing, really starting to tap in and have different type of conversations about the unknown, you know.
You know what's beautiful is in 2019 was the year of return. And we've gone into, as a people, we have collectively, you know, not all of us, but there's a growth going on that we're actually starting to embrace truth. We're starting to dig for truth. We want to know who we are. We want to know about our ancestors. We want to know, you know, we want to look at their struggles so that we know which way to go. And we're starting to question a lot of the negativity and lies and filth that's permeated our being through systems, you know, created by people who have no intention on love and unity. And so I see us growing. The problem is so many of us refuse to grow because we're afraid of change, and fear is false evidence appearing real. We are afraid to evolve, but we don't have a choice. We are going to have to move differently, think differently, eat differently. We're going to have to read. We're going to have to question. We're going to have to meditate. We're going to have to pray. That's the only way we're going to get through. We can't do things business as usual because, look, it has not worked. Right now, none of that matters, does it?
No, it doesn't. You know, my daughter, she usually asks me a lot of questions on Friday nights. We have about an hour or two where we just sit and talk, and she just throws these amazing questions my way. And she's 23, and she often asks me, Daddy, why is it that I'm thinking about my future, and a lot of my friends, they're just worried about the weekend and partying and getting money. And I told her that most people fight for their limitations, and when they fight for their limitations, they get to keep them. And a lot of people speak and act from their level of understanding. And if you don't have a astute mindset, or you didn't have a good teacher to teach you, you're going to embrace poverty consciousness. Or you're going to have that fear and doubt and things like that in your reality. So I think there's a lot of people that are afflicted with spiritual poverty, health poverty, and just mental poverty. A lot of people haven't been taught to think beyond the boundaries of what they've been programmed with. I was always a questioner, and I remember in school I would get in trouble a lot because I would always question the teacher, like, it just doesn't sound right. And I would get letters sent home saying I was talking out of turn and things like that. I always made good grades, but I didn't feel that my mind was welcomed in the classroom. And one thing about me and my daughter, she went to school twice. She learned the way society wanted her to learn, and at home I taught her the real. I mean, as a child, she was upset with me a lot because we would be up till 11 at night some nights, and I'm just teaching her. But now that she's a young adult, she appreciates all that wisdom I've imparted in her soul, you know. And I think a lot of people didn't have that growing up because I didn't. But there was something in me, and I think it was in me before I spiraled into this reality, that made me just have a strong desire to want more out of life, you know. So my question to you, Dr. J, is, what is it that some people have this vision of grandeur while other people just can't seem to fathom or embrace it? Where do you think that comes from?
Low self-esteem, generational curses. You know, there's things that are handed down from generation to generation. Social, historical trauma, environmental trauma. There's so many different things at play here. You know, the narcissism is at an all-time high. So we have gone from a collectivist community to an individualist community. And individualist community is an oxymoron because we become about self when at one time we were about the proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. We really had that village. And now we're so individualistic that we don't even know who our neighbors are. We don't look out for each other. There's so many different things that have changed. And so our self-worth has, instead of it being measured by, your elders and the stories that they handed down and the information that they gave and how your family and your community viewed you, not that how they view you is as important as how you view yourself. But we've gone from that to looking at the media for validation, looking at, YouTube influencers, if this person has on this makeup, there's filters now. And so we're looking at the fake, the smoke and mirrors of how we're supposed to be. And when we don't add up, when we don't measure up to that, then we go into a state of depression. I'm not saying us, I'm just saying in general, we really either want to be more than what we are, or we feel like we're not good enough instead of actually loving ourselves where we're at and growing from there.
That's deep. I feel that when you embrace or welcome lies as truth, your reality becomes alive. And I see a lot of that going on right now, where a lot of people are told misinformation and they just simply parrot the same information that they were given as if it was truth. They don't really have a deep understanding of what it is they're even saying. And I feel as if that's afflicting the minds of a lot of people these days. They'll get a text message or they'll see something on Facebook and they just instinctively believe it because they read it. And one thing about me, and one thing in my consultations, I always tell people to embrace their own no system. Nothing is true until you believe it's true for yourself. And when you don't need to believe in anything when you know. So I help people develop a no system. Forget everything you thought was real and focus on what it is that you know. Because what you know, no one can ever take from you. Another thing is, for me, everything is consciousness, and consciousness is everything. And consciousness to me equals choice. And I feel as if everyone has it in them to choose to have a strong desire to no longer suffer. First, I feel as if your need to succeed needs to be stronger than your will to fail. And once people adopt that type of mindset, then I believe that we'll see a better mindset within people. So, Dr. J, the last time we talked, you talked about adapting and how people need to adapt. What are some tips that you can give our audience to help them adapt to our new way of living?
First of all, in order to adapt, you have to self-reflect. I always say you can talk about it all day, but until you write it down, until you make it into a visual, you don't see it. And so one of the things that I say to adapt is look at the situation. I know that we are being programmed by the tell-lie vision. To quote KRS-One, it tells lies to your vision. We're being programmed by having this negative information constantly, 24/7, everywhere, nowhere you can turn. Shut everything off and ask yourself, who am I today? Take a good look at self. So write down 7 good things about yourself, 7 bad things about yourself. Write down 7 to 10 things you want in someone who's on your team, and then write down 7 to 10 goals that you want for the year. In this situation, ask yourself, what can I do, even though I'm quarantined, to make this happen? What can I work on? Those negative things, how can I work on that while I'm here? How can I use my positives to help me move forward into this new normal? Because no, you're not going to be able to hug and kiss and shake hands. No, yes, you are probably going to wear a mask. If you're smart, you'll probably wear it from now on. They are limiting your ability to go wherever you want to go. We don't really know what's true about the virus and what's not. It keeps changing daily. All day you get 3-4 different versions. They don't really know what they're doing. So you have to take full control over what you're going to do. They're threatening certain things are going to happen. This is going to be short and that's going to be short. If you've always had things, if you've always been privileged, you're not going to be able to handle the new normal. You need to learn to let go of things that are material. You've got to learn to take what you have and build from there. That's how you adjust. You look at it for what it is. Don't pretend it's something else. Don't stay in the past and how it was. Look at it right now for what it is. Look at the beauty of it. Look at the opportunity in it. And figure out how you're going to move. And you can't think about it. You have to think it, write it, put it on the wall, a vision board. You have to question things. You have to really think deeply in order to move the way that you need to move. Everybody is going to move different. Keep your emotions out of it because you can't think when you're emotional. Pick up a book and read. Sometimes the answer is right in your face, but you rather do it the shortcut and go on social media. Read a book. If you see something on social media and it resonates with your spirit, research it. You have to be very strategic about how you move and very strategic about how you adapt to this new normal. Because they got a plan for you. The question is, do you have a plan for yourself?
Heavy. You know, I appreciate that wisdom because a lot of people, they don't know what to do, and you just gave some jewels on what to do. Writing down, 7 positive things, things like that. That's what people need today is just someone that they can turn to, that they can trust, and gives them things to implement to change their way of thinking. One thing I realized I'm 44 now, but one thing I realized is, like you mentioned earlier, my mind state, that affects everything, and keeping my joy, staying positive, staying happy, not embracing all that anger and fear. Because I feel as if your vibration attracts particles of consciousness that exist all around us. If you're vibrating high, you're going to attract favorable particles of consciousness, going to help you move a different way, open up doors of opportunity for yourself. But if you're always vibrating low, woe is me, negative Nancy, you're going to attract those low vibratory particles of consciousness that's going to make you feast off of more negativity. I see too many people out here who are winning at losing. They find pride in losing the best. And one thing about me, I never talk about my shortcomings. I always talk about winning. I always start with winning and I end with winning. And I feel as if people need to get comfortable embracing their authentic self. Once you get comfortable embracing your authentic self, you don't really need to listen to other people like that. You could just be you and open up your own doors of opportunity.
The question is, when I have my sessions and when I teach, and particularly when I teach interpersonal communication, there's one thing they see on the board when they walk in, and you just see the look on people's faces. What I have written on the board is, you are going to be uncomfortable. Now imagine walking into a room and written on the board says, you are going to be uncomfortable. And then the second thing I say, the first thing that I say, who are you? Nobody can answer that. Oh, I'm so-and-so, I live here, I grew up here. Who are you? No one ever asked that question. Who are you? Why are you the way you are? Why do you talk the way you do? Why do you think the way you do? Why do you have the fears that you have? Where did they come from? Get the poison out of your mind, your spirit, and it will leave your body. Who are you? And then I lead them into exercises that help them face who they are, their authentic self, so they understand themselves better. And when you do that, not only do you move differently, but you choose better people to move with. Or you might have to move by yourself, like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As you're moving and you're moving up, the top of that pyramid is very small. Ain't room for everybody. Might only be room for you.
One thing about me that helped me change my whole paradigm, my whole life, was when I realized that I was unique and that there were things about me that no one else on earth can master better than I can. And once I started to think like that, I realized that I needed to share my light with the world. I had to create a whole new name of power to invoke power in my life. Because my original name, Chris Huffman, he was a fourth generational, born in the hood. Great grandparents, grandparents, mother and father, and I all were raised in the hood. And I took it upon myself to no longer live in the hood. At 17, I moved out and I haven't looked back. I realized that I needed to create a whole new name of power for myself because the old me, bad credit, scratching and surviving, homeless, I can outsuffer most people. But when I changed my name to Chris Enlightened, it was as if I got me a new spiritual social security card. I was embracing my cornucopia of wealth. I was just embracing everything that was good for me that I felt as if I deserved. I started to claim my divinity. So I think a lot of people need to align themselves up with something that's greater than them, whether it's your higher self or another deity or higher divine source. But you have to realize that you're much more greater than what you've been told. And once I started to adapt that mindset, Dr. J, that's when my life changed. That's when my life changed. So I'm 100% in agreement with everything you said.
Well, you know what? I want to make a statement about, you said that when you changed your name to Chris Enlightened, the door opened up for you. You know why? In the African tradition, the naming ceremony is very, very important. I want to talk about names for a second. What you name your child, it really kind of opens the door for where they're going to go in life. If you're naming your child a name that you made up that has no meaning whatsoever, what kind of path and expectation are you creating for that child? If you give a child a powerful name that has a meaning, then it's almost as if that child's spirit lines up with that name. Enlightened. You didn't have a choice but to be enlightened, because if you're going to carry that name, you have to be that. So we don't choose our names, our parents do. But when we do choose our names, they're generally based on our personality or something about our spirit that rings true. And then we move forward. So finding out who we are, you know, our name, our authentic self, all these things. If you want to be, I'll give you an example. There was a kid with a name that was atrocious. They should have never named this child this name. And the name that they gave the child is a name that you would give a pimp. And the child was being raised in a very low socioeconomic area, you know, in the hood. Not the hood, brother, the hood, the bottom. And you name this child a pimp name. I don't even want to say the name because that might be the only child with that name in the country. Well, how did you set that child up? How would that child, if they wanted to go the right way and really make something for themselves, how could they do that with a name like that? I'm willing to bet that child, as soon as that child is 18 years old, that a child would change the name, depending on how that child ended up in life. So when you know better, you do better. It's really important that whatever name we give our children, that we really don't just name them that because it's cute. What does that mean? Because they will grow to fit that meaning. That's why we don't know who we are. We have all these, Anglo names. We don't know what our names would have been. That's why a lot of people who are into Pan-Africanism, they change their name, or, they have a derivative of their name. They have a second name that they chose or someone else chose for them. That's why they do that. But we have got to, as a collective, this is Melanated Minds. We are not an individualistic people. By nature, we are collectivists. We are about the village. And we have adapted an individualistic nature. And because of that, that is one of the reasons, one of many reasons why we cannot come together collectively and vibrate and spiritually move forward so that finances, education, health and wealth, all those things, can be of benefit. We once did that. And every time we try to do that, those negative forces come to break it up. We have to learn how to plant, and we have to know how to sow. And if we're not doing that, we're not winning. And it's about winning.
Facts. I realize that sometimes your family will hold you back on your growth. And I've realized, within the last 4 years that if your family isn't growing with you, you need to let them go. You can love people from afar, but I feel as if our sole goal on this planet here is to grow spiritually. And that's it, because once you grow spiritually, all aspects of your life starts to change. Like, I buy people's groceries. If I'm in a drive-thru, I see a lady behind me, I'll buy her food. I'll buy people's gas. I don't do it all the time. I do it when I move to do it. And that's a way of making someone's day. I don't know I don't know their name or anything. I don't even stick around and say hi. I just do it to hopefully implore them to do the same thing one day. And since I've been doing that, Dr. J, I've been getting so many serendipitous blessings that I feel compelled to continue to do it. Like when I'm out in public, I like to hold doors for people, ask people how their day. Things like that help the collective consciousness become one again. I remember when I was growing up in the so-called hood, when I was younger, like in the early 80s, it was cool to say, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? And give eye contact. But now it's as if there's this big void or divide where people don't like to speak to each other like that. And I make it a point whenever I'm around younger brothers and sisters, I look at them dead in their eyes and ask them what their dreams are and just try to build them up and show them how a real man moves in this society. So you mentioned the collective consciousness, and I think that's one huge aspect of where our downfall is right now. We're no longer connected like that mentally.
Well, you know what? That's true. But, I like what you said, that it's like you're paying it forward. During this pandemic, I've been giving, in fact, it ends on the 1st, but I have been giving free sessions because I know that people are stressed out, and I know that they're not working, and I know they can't afford help. And so I have been doing that for about a month now. I have to say that there is, you know what? You find out who people are when things like this occur. For example, are you in the South?
I'm in Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio.
No, you're in Ohio. Okay. So here's a couple of examples. In Mississippi, there is an airman. He's an airline pilot, and his wife is a PhD. And they have a restaurant called Velma Jean's Chicken and Waffles. And when the pandemic hit, they're essential because they have food, but people aren't working. Your children are home from school. And sometimes we know that often in the African American community and brown and Latino communities, that those meals at school may be, the main meals for some. And so what they did, they could have just, continued to charge for food to keep, things going. But instead, they gave away food. They cooked, they barbecued, they gave away good food. And they started getting donations, and they have fed probably about 1,500 people now. They gave it to them for free. They gave it. I have to give them the shout out because, there's other people doing things like that around the country. There's Project Fighting Chance in San Bernardino, California. They're feeding kids lunches. But Velma Jean's Chicken and Waffles, they're not just putting food together. They're cooking it fresh, full meals. full meals, and giving it to however many that come in the family, they all get a meal. This is how you know a person's spirit has a collective spirit. And we have to learn to have collective spirits to help each other. Ain't nobody coming. We have to, when we vibrate on that level, when we come together, watch the change in the atmosphere. Trust me, this ain't our grandmama's generation. This is different. We're moving different. We're thinking different. We're seeking out truth. Knowledge is being thrown at us. How dare we not accept the knowledge? How dare we not read and study for ourselves? We have been divinely, even though this is some crap that's going on, we have been divinely sat down. What we do with this 2 months so far of reflection is totally up to us. And if we show that we're about the community, then we are really keeping diamonds for ourselves. Because self-care is number one. It's number one. But trust me, the law of karma goes through all different religions, spiritualities. Karma is there. I don't care what you believe. And when you put out positive vibrations, when you do right, it comes back. It comes back. It doesn't matter if you're in Ohio. Doesn't matter if you're in Atlanta, Georgia. It doesn't matter if you're in Los Angeles. And it doesn't matter if you're in Little Tylertown, Mississippi. It's coming back. And thank God for the people that are doing that to show that this situation will pass.
Well, Dr. J, I don't know if we could have ended the show better than you just ended it. I'm over here like, whoa, I don't even know what else to say after that statement. Wow. That's one thing I really appreciate you sharing this platform with me to divulge all that wisdom and just share some more truth with our audience to help them out. I think that we need platforms like this to help people because people need help today more than ever. There's a lot of biased information being spewed out here, but everything you said felt right, true, and exact. It's from the heart. It's not rehearsed. It's straight from the dome, unfiltered and real. And I just appreciate you sharing this platform with me. And I don't know what else to say. But I really appreciate it. I'm sorry?
I thank you because you are such a positive influence on the world, and you have so much to say. We need more Chris Enlightened. So we can all win. We all need to win.
Winning!
Winning!
Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this show today. And is there anything else you want to share about yourself to the audience, where they can find you and things like that?
Well, if you want to, get a hold of me, please, I have a YouTube, my husband and I. It's called Organic City Homesteaders, where we're teaching you how to grow your own food, how to work on your house, how to work on your car. Right now, we're planting vegetables and herbs to help with your immune system. So you can go on YouTube and look for Organic City Homesteaders. And as far as my holistic life coaching, go to JHARRELLSIMS, jharrellsims.com.
Thank you, Dr. J. And if you want to reach me, I'm Chris Enlightened. You can find me on Instagram, or you can subscribe to my YouTube page, the THEE Enlightened Journey, or you can go out to Amazon and pick up any one of my 4 books, Light and Taught, Poverty Consciousness, Wealth Consciousness, and my latest book, Dissolving Your Limitations. I want to thank you all for tuning in to Melanated Minds, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page, Melanated Minds, and we'll see you next week. Have a great night.
Winning.
Peace and love.